Hey everyone, this is Ole Sharanki from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS podcast. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome one and all to the online mentoring podcast powered by Laddering Your Success. I'm Ole Sharanki, co-founder of Laddering Your Success, and I'm honored to be joined as always by my fellow co-founder and LYS creator, Festus Omoye. Festus, happy Thanksgiving, and how are you doing today?
Hey, forget Thanksgiving. It's about Christmas now. No,
Okay, all right.
I'm joking. I got my Christmas background up, so I gotta be pro Christmas. But no, you're doing well, man. Thank you so much. I had a very relaxing, couple of days, and so it's good to spend time with family and friends and eat some good food. I barbecued my first turkey, or smoked turkey as they would call it, and so yeah, so that's it.
So yeah, I gotta say I had some of the turkey as well. Loved it. And I also had some of the gravy. Great smoky flavor. That's the first thing I got in it. So I loved it. I loved it, man. Also blessed to be joined once again by the future doctor of education, Jamark Crawford. Jamark, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, just happy to be here with you guys. Thank you for having me.
For sure, for sure. And last but not least, we have the one, the only, Daniel Clayton Hill. Daniel, how are things at the top of the hill, my good sir?
Hungry, man. Y'all over here talking about smoked turkey. I ain't never get no smoked turkey or barbecue turkey. I ain't even heard of barbecue turkey before. That sounds good. It sounds like a Texas thing.
100% a Texas thing. 100% a Texas thing.
I'm surprised they don't have that in Tennessee. They don't have like a smoked turkey fried. They do fried turkey.
Yeah, I've heard of fried turkey, but I never heard nobody barbecuing the turkey before.
Yeah, that's definitely a Texas thing for sure. Yeah. All right. So what we're going to be discussing today is we're going to have our part 2 on our discussion of the Department of Education. So during part 1, we kind of went over some of the background into the Department of Education, previous attempts to remove the Department of Education, things that the Department of Education is responsible for, right? So let me go back and talk a little bit about that, right? Elementary, secondary school individuals with disabilities, Pell Grants for college, financial aid, student loan programs, Title IX, data collection and research, advocacy and policy recommendations, civil rights enforcement, right? So part 1, we talked about the abolishment. And so we're just going to continue that discussion here. The first show of December, to say, as today is December 1st, right? So my first question for everyone is, can you imagine a world without federal education standards? Can we imagine a world without federal education standards? And if so, what are your thoughts on how this would change the way we learn and the way that we teach? So can you imagine a world without federal education standards? And how will this change the way we learn and the way that we teach?
I think it's hard to imagine that primarily because we grew up with it, you know what I mean? But I think this is the thing that's really difficult. Aside from what was done in civil rights through education, I'm not sure how helpful the Department of Education is. You know, I know that's going to shock a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to be appalled. But I think one of the things that has happened or has taken place is that we've moved from education in its true sense more to indoctrination, where the masses are basically there's almost like a new form of slavery. I mean, and what do I mean by that is that, you got parents who they're getting tickets, they're getting put in jail for their kids being late to school, things like that. You got a lot of things that are just coming down the pipeline that, some people don't agree with. And so I think it's tough, man. I think it's tough. Like I said, I can't imagine a world without the Department of Education because I have not been in one since my youth. But I can definitely see some reforms at least.
I think that it might just operate just like other systems that are not federal, to where the power are within the states. And I think that effect will look something like the variability in the quality of education from state to state. We'll look at fragmentation of the curriculum if states are put in control. So there won't be a unison agreement on, what needs to be taught and how it needs to be taught. And so I think that that would affect assessment accountability for our students who are taking whatever kind of test they need to take. That also would affect teacher certification when they're going from, if they have to relocate from state to state, it'll affect their ability to teach and their professional development. I also think it would definitely impact the equity as far as for our low SES students and just minority students and things of that nature if there is not a comprehensive agreement on what certain things should look like. And all those criteria vary from state to state. So I think it'll be just a lot of confusion for those persons who do move and relocate and things of that nature. And I think it'll just be real important to having to relearn the laws of a new state if you do plan on relocating and things of that nature. What comes to my mind of how I see it now is like gun laws. There are certain laws in certain states where you can have a certain magazine round in your firearm compared to different states. It's like having to be aware of those laws and where you at. I think it'd be something similar to that.
Hey, LYS fam. It's Ole. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show because you know it's some good topics.
Yeah, I probably I have no idea what's gonna happen. For real, like the way Festus, I think both of them have good points. I think I was wondering will it majorly affect people like Crawford over here on the college level when them kids come in? What would they know? What would they not know? Or would your credits even work? In high school, I don't remember, but back in the day, they wasn't that many credits, but nowadays, 36 credits kids got to have out of high school? I can't remember how many. But say if they come to your school, but they only got 32. They got 38. This state want 40. So when you get to the college level, I guess it will affect, but I don't know if that's the federal making sure everybody has that, or if that's state by state. Like you said, I really don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. So
absolutely, I think y'all all share some really good points. It is really hard because that's all we've known, and I think as we've grown, we've started to learn and understand a little bit more of how privately ran institutions, charter schools, which have grown recently, and public schools kind of all play into the role of education. So it'll definitely be interesting, especially when it comes to what we learn and the way we learn and teach. I remember Festus telling me the story about when he was at Houston Baptist, now Houston Christian University, and some of the books that they read. You remember that story you would tell me, Festus? And your classmates were a little bit younger, but they also went to...
No, not just a little bit younger. They were, most of them were 5, what was I, 26? So most of them were anywhere from 5 to 8 years younger than me. And so it's just interesting because books that I was just discovering were mainstay reads to them. Like Stephen Covey's How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. No, I think that's Dale Carnegie's book. Stephen Covey's book is, I forgot the name of his book.
Highly Effective.
Yeah, Highly Effective People. Yeah. And so these were like normal everyday reading that they read in 7th and 8th grade while we were busy trying to learn Shakespeare, and I think that's one of the things that I will say is kind of a double-edged sword of the Department of Education. I think any and all people should be very happy about the role the federal government has played in desegregation. And I want to share something real quick in that regard. So can y'all take a wild guess when the last school was desegregated in America?
It was just
Take a wild guess.
Wait, wasn't there still segregation just like less than 10 years ago?
Yeah, take a wild guess when the last school was desegregated.
I say 2000. I say 2008.
We got Olay 2008. What about you, Crawford?
I guess I'm gonna go with when you saying take a wild guess, so it must be something recent. I'm gonna go with
2018. We got 2008. What about you, D Hill?
Hey, I'm gonna be like, what's that movie that show Jeopardy?
Hey, LYS fam. It's Ole once again. You know, these days, many families are busy but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
2019.
This is right.
Price is right. Yeah.
So the last school in America, the last school that was desegregated in America was desegregated in 2016 in Mississippi. And so, you know, when you talk about the role of the Department of Education, I could, you know, although I'm very glad it played its part, but my question is, what would take you 50 years to desegregate? Now, this was a court case in which a woman, this school, she started the court case in the 1960s, didn't, by the time the court case ended, she was 57 years old, right? She was 57 years old before the schools got desegregated. And I'm gonna definitely put this article in the chat, in the comments. So what do y'all think about that? But I just think, how effective is the Department of Education if it couldn't say, hey, we're gonna stop federal funding coming to your state while this is on pause. We will resume the federal funding and give you any back money once this is over. But we said what we said and we meant it. And so to me, I think those are the things that I think sometimes the Department of Education kind of has a weak backbone in some areas where it should have been stronger, you know what I mean, in terms of the quality of education and equal access to education. But at the same time, there's other things that it does push more of that are just harmful. And so, you know, shout out to Dr. Kunjufu. I don't know if anybody knows about Dr. But he's kind of one of those people who started talking about the school to prison pipeline and how education was harming Black male students and just male students in general. And it's crazy because he was doing his work in the 80s, and to this day, that hasn't been fixed. And so, you know, to me, I just call into question, you know, the effectiveness of the Department of Education as such. Again, I'm very glad it had its role and did what it did throughout desegregation. I'm very glad it had its place in kind of providing some kind of education standards, because you have some states that don't have the resources as other states do. And so it's good to be able to say, hey, here's a blanket standard that you guys could kind of strive to. But I think to a certain degree, it might not be as effective as we would like.
So are you saying you're for the removal of the Department of Education?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say I'm definitely for some deep reforms. You know, people for against Trump, you know, I say shout out whoever's the president. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, you know, you have to know what you're going after in life, and you have to do your best to strive in order to get there. That's the whole point of being knowing doing, is if you know who you are, you know what resources are available and how to use them, you just need to execute. and it shouldn't matter who's in office.
So you're saying we should be open to change?
100%. That's the only constant in life, is we should be open to change, and so to me, some people might want to get used to the idea of there being no Department of Education. I'm not saying that it needs to go away, but I'm just saying, though, you know what I mean?
So, Festus, you said the school to prison pipeline hasn't been fixed. But to legislators, business people, and the sort, it is fixed, right? So fixed is different depending on where you lie in the grand scheme of these things. So you say the school to prison pipeline isn't fixed, right? But to someone who owns a for-profit prison, to a business owner who relies on prison work to get their end product made, to those who are investing in these things, it is fixed. So how do we grasp that idea, right, of this thing that we know is there, right? I still remember, I think I had a really good professor, shout out to Houston Community College, HCC. He talked to us about Dwight D. Eisenhower's farewell address. What is the main thing he talked about, or the highlight of what he talked about there?
Prison industrial complex?
Military industrial complex, right? He talked about it. He said it straight up, the military industrial complex. He said it. And I think about this. This is, and that's what we have. We have a group of systems that kind of play within our country. So how can we conceptualize that, right? And start to take back and start to, find that ownership. It kind of goes to what you were saying earlier about, and Crawford was mentioning earlier about there needing to be change, but how do we let people see that? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, I think part of it is, it's one of those things where if there is no real risk, then what causes people to change? You got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so to me, if Trump says, hey, I'm going to bulldoze this building and there's no more Department of Education, I think that should make some people wake up and say, whoa, was I doing my job? You know what I mean? Or was I just kind of sitting on my hands and letting things play out? And that's kind of the way that I look at it, man.
This is really good. All right, so I have one more question.
I think I'm shocking you guys with my opinions. Oh man,
man, I ain't mad. I understand. It's like a lot of times I don't think it seems like some people don't, even if they don't want to get rid of it, they say stuff to make people start doing stuff. If that makes sense. Like sometimes, I'm sure he actually wants to get rid of it, but sometimes unless somebody feels like something's about to happen, they don't ever do nothing. So sometimes you got to say stuff to scare people to make them do it. It's just weird the way the world works. They won't just people been complaining about stuff, federal money. Now he coming in, and now they worried about, I might lose my job if he found out that I'm not really working. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially Elon Musk, man, that dude. Well, I found out the thing they started Doge, which is funny, bro. How you gonna name it the same thing as the coin, bro? That's what's hilarious. But he's starting Doge, but they really saying that's just what's the people call when a contractor? So it's like contract, they come in giving advice, but if he got everybody on their side to get rid of it, and they're gonna get rid of some stuff because he wants to cut 77% of the government funding. But I'm not mad because some of that stuff, bro. If they take some of that money, actually put it to where it needs to be, we'd be better off. Like, there's no reason for us to be spending money to see what cocaine does to monkeys. Like, bro, we know what cocaine does to monkeys. You know what I'm saying? So, I ain't mad. Like, whatever you do it. I'll be all right. God got it. So I ain't really worried about it.
I did want to talk about something that Festus brought up and then Ole expanded on, which was the school to prison pipeline. And what's interesting to me, because it was brought up that it's not fixed. And what's interesting to me is we're talking about change. And I feel like one of the key factors of why it's not fixed, even us as the minority, which it affect Black and brown people, but as teachers, it is being reluctant to change and not really understanding the system of the school to prison pipeline and the things that are in effect, because we complain when there are policies that would limit the number of suspensions of students being expelled from school, or limit the time outside of the classroom dealing with problematic students in terms of behavior and things of that nature, and their reinforcing strategies such as restorative circles and things of that nature. But us as teachers in that moment, we give pushback on those strategies and be like, well, I can't deal with this student. I want to put him out, or this student didn't get suspended for this and that. And it's like we push back against that, but we're not realizing is that's exactly some of the contributions to the school to prison pipeline. These particular structures, suspension or in-school suspension, where they're put in a room, just like prison or things of that nature, more police officer presence on the school campuses. These are the things that are conditioning these students for that. Whereas if we change our approach in a sense of, you know what, let me not handle these situations from a sense of authority. Let me handle these situations with a sense of understanding, knowing that this student came in my classroom with an attitude for whatever reason. Let me try to understand this student, not try to enforce my authority, but give understanding, give him or her a listening ear, and give them a space to where they can cool down and we can talk about their emotions at a better time and have these conversations and model that self-control so they can have something to refer to in terms of emotional intelligence and mentor it. Now, that takes away time from having to teach because, you know, we can't do it all, but these are the things that will help to improve that school to prison pipeline. But the problem is that's more work on the teachers, where when we have plenty of teachers who come to work just to get a paycheck, yo, I ain't got time to deal with that. Get out my classroom.
And see, to me, that's what I talk about, the effectiveness. To me, what if you were to say, hey, look, some of these dollars that are being wasted over here in the Department of Education, we can pay teachers better salary and we can add more teachers. You know what I mean? I think that would be more conducive to, and to me, one of the biggest issues with public education is classroom size.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Ole. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that even though the cost of college can be daunting, the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook can assist you in realizing your dreams. You can identify and apply for scholarships using the information, advice, and resources in our comprehensive guide. Also, we've provided a template for a successful scholarship essay to help you stand out from the crowd. Don't allow student loan debt to control you. Get your copy of the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook right away to take charge of your destiny. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to that fire conversation.
You know, to me, this is kind of, again, why I'm kind of pro privatizing education. Why? Because, again, it's funny to me when I look at human behavior, and the behavior should indicate to us what the most likely outcome is going to be. And what do I mean by that? When people have more money, they tend to choose different education for their children. They tend to put them in private school. They tend to get tutors. They tend to do these different types of things. And so to me, I just don't understand why people will be upset with getting rid of these larger public institutions that are taking a lot of tax dollars, and or how those tax dollars are used, and kind of reusing those tax dollars in a way to say, hey, if you open a tutoring institution and students' grades improve X, Y, Z, you're going to get more funding or something like that. You know, I think that there's other alternatives than just having a Department of Education that unfortunately has just been slacking.
For me, in that context, the concern with that would be for those of us who are public school teachers, our job security. I think that would be a concern. Okay, if the Department of Education is one of the main sources that falls down into how I live my lifestyle and get paid, I think that would be a big concern of, okay, if that's removed, then what is my job security going to look like? And then I know you're talking about like private schools and things of that nature. When you look at the salaries of the private school, which is dependent on the enrollment of the students, it's kind of hard to have that job security there. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. If they just open it up to allow more charter schools, to allow more private schools, then you could get more teachers there. If you allow these coupons or certificates that they're talking about doing, then to me, I could just see like somebody saying, if this school is not doing a good job, I'm gonna take my certificate or my voucher and apply it to this school. And now that school has additional funding, which you didn't have before. That's the way that I look at it.
It all depends on the kids, because all that happens is like this charter schools is good and this charter schools is terrible. Because my homegirl used to work, she used to work there. She's like, man, them kids are terrible. These people just getting checks. They getting the money for the kids, like 35 kids per class. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going, and a kid would move from school to school. Let's be honest, your education is not going to be like you. See, it's different. You're going to have your kid there. If we base off of kids who don't come to school, why your school doing that? The kid don't come to school. He comes to school 2 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Now, and I got a question. Once they take the check and give it to the other school, can the kid come? Like, okay, public schools is based on how much they get per, how many times their kids in class throughout the year. So if this person gets a check to go to charter school, do they have to stay at the charter school the whole time? And if they try to come back, will that check still be over there, or will that check go back? That's what I'm saying, because these kids come back. Because if I just say this, Festus, where your kid is, right? So where your kids are doing good, parents, if these people start getting these checks, they start sending their kids over there thinking that it was the teachers and not their kid who not doing his work, then your whole school score goes down, because you got these people who don't want to come to school. You see what I'm saying? Putting kids in your class who bad at sin. So, I mean, does that check stay over there, or does that check come back? Does half of that check come back? Do y'all know?
I don't know, but I feel like I'm gonna come at what you're saying from a different perspective, and because I know you like it's the kid, and I think a heightened thing would definitely affect the quality of education, because if people don't have a sense of job security, I'm speaking about the teachers, and people can choose to where they want to take their child and that's where to get the money. So it's like when it comes to being hired, it's kind of like the NIL effect of college students. There's no loyalty to the college. It's like, oh, if I go over here, I get paid more or this and that. So it's like, let me not stay the whole season. Let me just boom, boom, boom. And I feel like that's what will be concerning, because if I'm a teacher here, they talking about they finna pay more because maybe more schools or children or parents or families are choosing that, and that's for this year. Boom, I'm finna bounce over there. But then let's say next year that changes to somewhere else. Boom, I'm finna bounce over here. I'm finna go where it's so, because of lack of security. And it's like, okay, well, I'm okay with being in this district for however many years, because I know that my salary is protected through whatever the system is now. And we kind of don't know what that look like when funding is going to possibly depend on, school choice and things of that nature.
Interesting. This is interesting, because it's all trying to see what happens. What if the kids just be, the thing about it, I have to just see how it all works out, because like, think about every year these people start taking their checks at different schools better. But say this, like you said, job security. But say if this school is not doing good, say this, say Festus kids where they are. I like to use school because it's good, like you said. But a whole bunch of kids come over there, that school goes down. Then them parents who just came over there, unlike you, be like, oh, this school sucks. Not because the school actually sucks, because like I used to have these kids go to charter schools, and I used to laugh because like, bro, you gotta be involved, right? You gotta do your work. But I didn't say nothing to him. I'm like, okay, man, good luck, man. I pray everything works out for the best for you. 6 weeks, because I knew he wasn't gonna do no work. His parents don't come to ours. This was years ago. I was like, if your mama didn't come to ours, your mama ain't about to do what Festus. I mean, I didn't know you back then, but now like what Festus gonna do, he's not going to stay up to it. He gets in trouble. So I'm trying to see how it's going to work. Say if like all these kids can go like the K, they get them checks or a charter school. They drop down at school. Now these parents move their kids to another school, and they see their school not doing good. Oh, next semester, they move them to another school. So it all has to depend really based off of not even the teachers, because we can leave this country. Like I can leave and go to China or somewhere, right? I don't have to teach for real. Them kids gonna do their work and they gonna focus. So I just have to see how it's actually gonna work, because if they just bounce their kids from school to school, but they're not really focused on making themselves better, like say Crawford say, you sitting down understanding, or not even teacher, like the parent has to be involved. Like I'm trying to see how's it actually going to work. Because I told somebody, because I don't know unless, and also will charters start getting busted to go get the kids? Because she said most charter schools, the ones I know, you have to drop your kid off, right?
Yeah, we got to drop them off.
Well, I got to see how that's going to work. Will they start paying for charters to have buses to go get the kids? And would these charters want to go get these kids knowing like, okay, see, I understand like when you signed your kid up, did they look, well, your kids were young. Are they looking at scores? Do most charters look at scores and grades and stuff, or what?
Well, yeah, ours are, they got to take, what is it? The TEKS and stuff like that. So they got to pass the same, standardized tests and
My bad. I meant to say, and when they look at the children they bringing in, do they have to take any type of test, or do they have to, or is the school looking at their grades before they actually accept them?
No, it's open enrollment. I think the thing is with that question, I think two parts is one, they do open enrollment, but I don't think, let me say there's well operated charter schools and there's poorly operated charter schools. It's just like this, right? It's just like this. Okay. If you think about the presidents of the United States, can you name the public elementary school or the public? Nah, not a single one, right? So it's funny that we will say, no, a president is not going to go to a public school. You see what I'm saying? But everybody else should be mandated and you go to jail if you don't. So to me, that's kind of where I look at, like, it's a double standard type thing. And people are kind of talking out the side of their necks, you know what I'm saying, in regard to forcing everybody to go to public school. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it's not that these charter schools are not under the thumb or under the guise of the Department of Education. It's just that they operate differently. And some of that differential operation is what enhances the education experience. That's the way that I look at it. Now, I can see the point that people are going to go where the money's at. But I do think that that's kind of true regardless, is that people are going to go where the money's at. They're going to go where the money's at until the headache is not worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when, HISD started with the NES schools and those different types of things, and people was railing against them. And they was like, oh, this. As soon as teachers start making 95 racks a year, the conversation turned. It was like, maybe this isn't so bad. And so I think it's one of those things where it's like a lot of people are making a lot of noise just because they're afraid of change and they don't like change. But change is the only thing that's constant. The rest of the world is changing. You take places like China. We talk about China and Chinese education. When we on this podcast were younger, China was an impoverished country for the most part. Don't get me wrong, there's still provinces of China that are very impoverished. But China was not what it is today 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It's not what it is today. But they focused on education. They hunkered down. Unfortunately, because they're a communist country, there's things that they could do to manipulate people and really force people to do things against their will. You could see that during the COVID lockdowns. Some people were forced to sleep at work. Even still now, you could look it up online, some of the living conditions there where they live at the factories and things like that. I don't see how that's not English serfdom. But anyway, so when you take all of that into account, I just think that there has to be good quality enforcement mechanisms and good quality reforms to keep the Department of Education together, but also at the same time to counteract things that can or do go wrong.
Yeah, that's real good. I had people shoot me, and I was at you, Sharonki, where was at? I ain't gonna say the place we was at. But, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was just like a Bible study we was at. The money, the people keep telling me, like in HIC, like you said, people were complaining. Some people stopped, but then a lot of people still complaining and leaving. Like they say, it's not even worth the money. I think that was it was me and you, Sharonki, right? Yeah. So I guess when people think they got a hold on you too, at the same way, what sounds good. Like if you give me more money to teach, I'm gonna teach long. But I was like, some of these people are dipping. Like they said, bro, it ain't worth it. I was thinking, man, how is an extra $2,000 a month? Like in my head, I couldn't imagine. They was like, not only are they in your classroom, but they out nonstop. They always doing something. I forget what they were explaining everything. Like, dude, it's ridiculous. And people leave. And you probably saw how they even said no to the money that they was gonna get, not because they was mad at the teachers, because they mad at the admin and just want to get rid of everything. So I just gotta see how it's all gonna work, because I think they think it's going. If there's not a standard of like, hey, once you go here, you have to stay, then you're gonna get kids just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing, and money bouncing and bouncing around, and the school just not gonna be good. Like it just next school gonna go down and down. Like I know this charter schools is good. Like my friend them go to charter school. It's amazing. It just depends on if it's one that wants to keep its standards high, like yours. It probably wants to keep standards high, and some is going to get money, and it's going to bring it down. So I just got to see.
I do want to add on to something, if we got the time, or like to what Daniel was saying about the situation with HISD and the more money and people want to leave. In my opinion, I feel like essentially teachers are now forced to do their job, and they have these high standards of, well, you're going to get this money, you're going to have to work for it. And obviously that's in those areas of low SES and where the students, there are definitely challenges. And I feel like when you have people all in your room and things of that nature, like what's the problem? You should be focused on teaching, doing what you're supposed to do anyway. So yes, it's work. Yeah, they gotta stay after work, and they gotta meet, and they gotta plan, and they gotta do this and this. But when you have the conceptual understanding that, yo, this is already part of the job, and this is what I should have been doing in the first place, then that changes your perspective, because I was doing all of that for free. So when I hear about those experiences, I'm like, yo, that's a part of teaching. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I do understand if that's not part of that wasn't part of their practices before, and now they're going into their position, they have these things that are part of their practices. And I'm not talking about any personal situations that they got going on at the schools. I'm just strictly referring to things that they got to do to improve instructional strategies, right? These are things that should be done. You should be having meetings, you should be analyzing your data, you should be having more discourse in the classroom where the students are doing more talking than the teachers. These are things that are embedded in the 21st century education, but yet we have teachers who are standing up lecturing for an hour and trying to figure out why our kids aren't doing anything. They're not paying attention, because you need to change your instructional methods. And with that stuff, with more money, there comes expectations where if you want this 95,000, yo, you're gonna have to work for it. You're gonna have to make changes to show that there is learning growth going on within these students. You got to put in the work.
I give you that, because I ain't gonna lie, extra $3,000, I'd be in there. That's why I always ask them. I was like, man, how in my mind, but maybe because I think it was talking about stuff on Saturdays and stuff. But then at that point, it's really not even like technically. That's like I tell somebody, like, if I'm actually doing more work, say like after school, like say I do after school program, I'm actually making more money. So they actually pay more. But if I got a regular job, but you working more hours, technically you didn't get a raise. You just actually got another job in my mindset. Because like a raise is you doing the same thing based on what you was doing, they give you money. But if you got me working sad, and technically you didn't give me a raise, I'm just working another job in my mind. But I ain't gonna lie, after like today or throughout the week, I was making stuff for next week at home. But now you pay me to make stuff for at home, bro. It's not a problem to me. But still, like I said, I guess it just depends on. I'm not really in HISD, see what everybody's going, but I know people be leaving.
So yeah, for those who may not be in Houston or Texas. HISD is Houston Independent School District. So real quick, I just wanted to drop some things. And if anyone wanted to jump in after that, that's fine. And this is kind of in regards to everything. I was kind of taking some notes. Places are going to allow what they will have, right? So every charter school, every private school is going to have a limit to what they can allow or hold for students. So I think that's one of the things that may be a fear is like, well, all the kids are going to go here. All the kids are going to go there. Hopefully, if they're ran right, you have people to say, this is what we can stand before we cannot offer quality instruction. States are going to determine what should be available for adequate access for students. I'd hope these are folks who think very high level. They're very smart. They have way more degrees than I do. I mean, I would just hope that. But this is the world we live in, 2024. Crazy things happen. Also, with the shortage of teachers, in regards to shortage of teachers, we got to remember how many teachers we have that are actually teachers. So I'm talking about you went in, you passed your TXES, you can go to the website and I can do the search and I can see that you're a teacher. I wonder how this is going to affect the quality of teachers. Will these changes cause teachers to step up and increase in their skill, kind of to what Crawford was alluding to? That's one of the things I'm thinking about. So there's so many moving parts that are happening, right? There are kids that are going to be taught. My fear is what happens to the underserved kids, because to go back to the previous point that, they kind of brought this up, the school to prison pipeline is not going anywhere without some sort of government intervention. So there's going to be a need for us to rise and take ownership of our children. We have to learn to sacrifice. So there's two things in there. When I said there has to be a need for us to rise and take ownership, if you look at the sacrifices that were made, Brown v. Board of Education was put in place. There are so many stories that we have yet to even hear of teachers, of educators, of people who have sacrificed to ensure that students are getting that access to quality education. So there has to be this level of ingenuity on our part to create these opportunities. And if you pay attention, this is where things like micro schools are coming up, homes, just the increase in homeschooling, different things like this that are increasing, that are happening. And there also has to be this ability to sacrifice. And I think one of the things that has happened since desegregation and since things like the Civil Rights Act was put in place is they have kind of weakened us in the aspect of us not being as quick to say, hey, they ain't doing this. You get your people, we're going to come together, we're going to get this done. Just like that. Once that law was put in place, it was like, oh, well, all right, now we can go here, right? And then 30 years down later, you hear slavery is the largest immigration movement that ever happened in a school book textbook, and people are getting upset, right? And so, those are just some of the things that come to my mind as we were talking.
Yeah, I definitely think this needs a episode 3 being a hot topic. Hot topics.
Okay. I'm liking it. All right. Episode 3 coming up. I thought we could wrap it up with 2, but I like that. All right. Episode 3. All right. I like it. Keep it shaky going into 2025. I love it. Anybody, any final thoughts? Well, I can't even say final thoughts because we're going to do a part 3, right? All right. I'll take a silence as a yes. All right. All right. We're going to do a part 3. I love it. But, great point, Festus. It is a very polarizing point. It's a very important point. It's one of those things that we do have to continue to talk about. So love it. All right, folks. This has been our latest episode of EduSteps powered by Laddering Your Success. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you have a student, if you have a friend who's a teacher, an educator, an in-class support specialist, an associate teacher, a principal, a counselor, someone who works in admin, you're a parent yourself. Who am I missing? Students, parents. You're a parent. Share it with them. Tell them to watch a couple minutes. They're going to get some really, really good insights and maybe some perspectives they did not think about or see before. So for Daniel Hill, for the future Dr. Jamar Crawford, I'm Ole Sharonki. That's Festus Samoye. Festus, please give him the phrase that pays, sir.
All right, listen up, y'all. As we love to say here, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. Thanks so much for watching this episode, and we will see you on the next episode. All right, y'all be blessed now.
Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS podcast.